to Becoming Creative. I'll be your instructor, Brent Eviston. So to start out, I'd like to ask you a question. When you think of something creative, what comes to mind? Now, many people answer that question with things like art or self-expression. Some people get more specific and say things like painting or drawing, but creativity goes far beyond any one field or practice. Creativity also goes far beyond self-expression and art. So what exactly is creativity? This is the question we're going to explore in this course. So something creative is something new, something surprising, something unorthodox, something we haven't seen before. To come up with a creative idea or solution is very challenging because by definition, this creative thing is something new. So when we ask the question, how do we become more creative? What we're really asking is how do we create new things? How do we create things that no one has ever seen before? How do we come up with ideas and solutions that no one has come up with before? Now, creativity is a mysterious process, but recent research has given us clues into how it works and what we can do to become more creative. This course will introduce you to the research regarding creativity, as well as give you a number of methods that will allow you to increase your levels of creativity. Now, it's very important that you understand from the beginning, creativity does not simply turn on like a light after you finish a course or go through a step-by-step process. Creativity is not just something that happens when you're making an art project, and it's not a simple strategy that you're going to learn. Creativity is more than a skill that you learn. Creativity is a life that you live. To become more creative, you need to learn to think and to live your life in a different way. Now, it's also important for you to understand that although we're going to be doing some art projects in this course, this is not an art skills course. In this course, we're focusing on creativity directly. I've taught drawing in depth in my Art and Science of Drawing series, but in this course, we're going to focus on creativity directly. So this course is much more than just an art course. Becoming creative is an immersive process, and in this course, you're going to learn the most effective changes you can make to your day-to-day life as well as the way you think in order to become more creative. Now, this course is open to anyone, even if you're completely new to art or creativity. Now, I think this course will be very useful for artists and designers, but there are no prerequisites for this course. You don't need to have any drawing, painting, or other art experience to join. This course is open to anyone who wants to increase their creativity in any field, including art, design, business, relationships, or anywhere else you want to be more creative. So with all of this in mind, let's take a look at some of the most important research that's been done about creativity. In 1965, a systems scientist named George Land founded a research institute to study creative performance. George Land and his team of researchers were approached by NASA to develop a test that would allow NASA to identify the most creative individuals. Now, NASA already had a lot of brilliant scientists and engineers, but they needed to figure out who were the best people to solve the most challenging creative problems they had. Remember, an organization like NASA does things that no one has ever done before, and this requires creative solutions. George Land and his team developed a creativity test that evaluated an individual's ability to look at a problem and come up with creative ideas and solutions, to come up with innovative ways of solving problems. Now, this test was surprisingly simple. It was also incredibly effective. It was an absolute success in allowing NASA to figure out who the most creative individuals on their teams were. With the help of this creativity test, NASA was able to identify and hire individuals that were highly creative and go on to tackle some of the toughest problems that have ever been undertaken. Now, with the success of their creativity test, George Land and his team had an interesting idea. They decided to give this test to children. So George and his team gave this creativity test to 1,600 children. The ages of these children were 4 to 5, and they were selected to represent a cross-section of American demographics. So let me ask you, what percentage of children do you think tested at extremely high levels of creativity? The results were astounding. George Land and his team discovered that 98% of children aged 4 to 5 tested at extremely high levels of creativity. Shocked and ecstatic, George Land and his team decided to make this a longitudinal test. They decided to test the same children every 5 years. So here are the results. Now, at 10 years of age, the number of kids who tested at high levels of creativity dropped from 98% to 30%. George Land's team tested these same kids again, now at 15 years of age. And this time, only 12% of these 1,600 kids tested as highly creative. Now, this ended the study with this particular group of children, but George Land's creativity test has been given to over 1 million adults with an average age of 31 years old. The test reveals that only 2% of adults maintain any of the highly creative capacities that they once showed as children. Now, I know this sounds discouraging, but the research doesn't stop there. The research also uncovered some good news. You do not lose your capacity to be creative. Now, the reason most adults are not creative is because they shift their thinking away from creative possibility and instead seek concrete answers. Or to put it more bluntly, they'd rather be correct than be creative. In this course, you're going to learn how to reverse this process and how to reclaim your creative capabilities. You're going to learn once again how to use your mind creatively. Now, creativity can come in many forms and has many uses. Now, creativity is essential for both artistic creations as well as technological innovations. Now, in this course, we're going to explore creativity through an artistic perspective. But again, this course will be useful for anybody wanting to be more creative in any field or discipline. So now let's talk about how this course works. In each lesson, I'm going to introduce a set of essential ideas, and at the end of each lesson, you're going to be asked to participate in a project. This course contains 2 different kinds of projects: art projects and guided journal projects. Now, before I go any further, I want to make this very clear. You do not need any special skills to participate in this course. You don't need any art skills, and you don't need any special writing skills. You just need a willingness to participate in some creative projects, as well as a willingness to write about yourself and your thoughts. Now, if you've taken any courses in my Art and Science of Drawing series, you'll know that I encourage students to submit their work for review. Now, in this course, you're welcome to submit your art projects, but this isn't the kind of course where I'm going to be able to tell you what you did right and what you need to work on more. These creativity projects are much more subjective. The experience is what's important in this course and not the outcome. And the writing that you're going to be doing in your guided journal projects is for your eyes only. The writing you do in this course should only ever be read by you. Again, the experience of writing is what's important. So again, I don't want you to feel like you can't take this course if you don't have a lot of writing experience or art experience. This course is open to anyone, regardless of your experience. So while you're taking this course, I recommend going through no more than 1 lesson per day. You don't want to rush through the course. You want to give yourself at least a day to process what you've learned. Beyond that, you're invited to adapt the course to fit your schedule. If you can only do 1 lesson per week, that's completely fine. So in this course, you're going to learn a whole series of techniques that will allow you to increase your creativity. You'll also have a solid understanding of what creativity is, how it works, and how you can use it wherever you want to be more creative. You'll learn how to make meaningful and creative connections between things, as well as work through your creative fears and blocks. Okay, so with all of this in mind, let's get you to your first project. For today's project, you're going to get set up with a journal. So in order to do your guided journal projects, you're going to need a journal. So for today's project, you're going to figure out what you want to use for a journal. Now, your journal can be a physical object, like a sketchbook or a notebook, or it can be digital. You can either write by hand or you can type. It's completely up to you. Now, I tend to do all of my writing on a computer. The reason is because I draw a lot, and when I get a pencil in my hand, I tend to think in images instead of words. As I've trained my hand and mind to draw more, my handwriting has also gotten much worse. So although I do take notes in my sketchbook sometimes, most of my serious writing is done on a computer. But many people really love to write by hand, so if that works for you, great. I even still know some artists who do their journal writing on a typewriter. So again, whatever works for you is great. You just need to get set up with a place to write. So once you're set up with your journal, I'm going to give you your first writing prompt. So here's what your writing prompt is going to be for today. Take stock of where you are in your creative pursuits. So let me unpack that a bit. Are you completely new to creativity, or have you had some experience? Do you have an art background, or have you been to creativity workshops? And remember, it's okay if you're a complete beginner. You can also write about where you might want to be more creative in your life. But the goal here is to take stock of your relationship with creativity. You don't have to answer all of the questions I just asked, they're just to get you started. For this first journal project, you can write as little or as much as you want. If you just want to write a few sentences, that's fine. If you want to write a few paragraphs or pages, that's fine too. The goal here is to just get started writing in your journal. So we're coming up on the end of this lesson, and before you get to writing in your journal, I just want to sum up what we've talked about here today. Everyone can become more creative. This course is all about recovering and reclaiming the creativity that you once had as a child. Through the lessons you'll learn here, the guided journal projects you'll participate in, and the art projects you'll make, you're going to learn all about how you can become more creative. Now, I'm very excited to be working with you to increase your creativity. It's a challenging thing to do, but it is absolutely rewarding and worth it. Okay, so now get set up with a journal. Remember, it can be physical or digital. Once you're set up with your journal, go ahead and start writing. And remember, your prompt today is to take stock of where you are in your creative pursuits. I'll see you back here for the next lesson when we're going to explore meaning.